heritage stories. Meet Islam's greatest minds.
In the stillness of the 8th century, somewhere among the Ethiopian highlands, an Arab goat herder named Khalid noticed something unusual. His goats, normally calm and slow, were suddenly leaping, restless, alive with energy after grazing on a certain red berry that grew wild on the slopes. Intrigued, Khalid plucked a handful of those cherries, chewed them, and felt the same surge of life course through his body. What began as a curious observation on a quiet hillside would, centuries later, transform the rhythm of human civilization. Khalid's discovery soon spread across the Arabian Peninsula, where people began to boil these mysterious berries in water to create a dark, aromatic liquid, one that awakened the mind and sharpened concentration. They called it Al-Qahwa, meaning the invigorating one. It was more than a drink. It was an experience, a spiritual companion that carried warmth through the night. Among the Muslims, especially those devoted to nightly prayers and worship, this strange new drink became a gift, a divine aid that helped them stay awake, reflect, and draw closer to God. In a time before electricity, before the modern age, Al-Qahwa lit up the minds of those who sought enlightenment in the stillness of the night. Scholars, poets, traders, and mystics gathered around clay pots of steaming coffee, reciting verses, debating ideas, and breathing in the scent of roasted beans. Coffee became more than sustenance. It became culture, it became connection, it became conversation. The word coffee itself has journeyed like a traveler through history. It began as qahwa in Arabic, a word once used for a type of wine that banished sleep. From Arabic, it traveled to Turkey, becoming kave, then to Italy, where it evolved into cafe. And finally, it reached English as the word we all know, coffee, a single word that carries within it the footsteps of centuries and civilizations. By the 15th century, coffee had found its way to Mecca, Cairo, and Istanbul, becoming an essential part of Islamic culture. Coffee houses, known as kahve-khane, began to appear, bustling places filled with laughter, poetry, storytelling, and philosophy. These were not mere shops. They were intellectual sanctuaries, open to anyone with a curious mind. Here, merchants and mystics, travelers and thinkers, all shared stories over small porcelain cups. The air would hum with debate, music, and the smoky aroma of freshly roasted beans. From the Ottoman world, coffee traveled to Venice by the mid-1600s, carried along the trade routes by merchants who had tasted its magic in the East. In 1645, the first coffee house opened in Venice, a city already known for its connection between the Islamic world and Europe. The drink was unlike anything the West had seen. It wasn't just stimulating, it was symbolic, a new ritual of thought, community, and sophistication. Soon, coffee reached England, brought by a man named Pasqua Rosé, who opened the first coffee house in St. Michael's Alley, Cornhill, in the city of London, 1652. The English loved it. They embraced it not just as a beverage, but as a movement. Coffee houses became known as penny universities, because for the price of a single penny, one could buy a cup of coffee and join conversations that stretched from science to philosophy, politics to poetry. These places became the heartbeat of a new age of reason, where men and women challenged old ideas and imagined the future. By the dawn of the 18th century, there were nearly 3,000 coffee houses in England alone. They became the cradles of innovation, where newspapers were born, where revolutions were whispered, and where merchants planned the great empires of trade. From London to Paris, from Istanbul to Cairo, the story of coffee was no longer just about the drink. It was about awakening, the awakening of thought, of culture, of spirit. Even as centuries passed and empires fell, coffee never lost its sacred aura. From small Sufi gatherings in Yemen to the busy cafes of Europe, it remained the silent witness of human dreams. The steam that rises from a cup of coffee today still carries the whispers of that ancient discovery, of a shepherd named Khalid and his lively goats on the green Ethiopian hillsides. Every sip we take is a sip from history, a connection to the scholars who stayed awake through the night in devotion, the poets who found verses in its aroma, and the travelers who carried it across oceans. Coffee in all its forms, Turkish, Arabic, Italian, or modern espresso, is more than just a drink. It is the drink of ideas. It bridges continents, unites cultures, and reminds us that sometimes the smallest discoveries, like a red berry on a forgotten hillside, can change the destiny of the world. Coffee, born from faith, carried by curiosity, and shared through centuries, remains an eternal symbol of awakening.